angels and devils and all who may wander here. It is Amanda Christina, and today we are making a Game of Thrones themed bookmark from recycled book pages and a cereal box. Nutri-Grain in this case, because that's what I finished recently. Now what I have done is I have used some gloss gel medium and put the book page down onto this and just cut around the edges. So what we're going to do is cut out some, actually what we're going to do is flip our plates around because that will be easier in this case. And we're probably going to do a couple of lots of these. I am just going to put on these little Cogs and Gears dies. These came from AliExpress. I have not put them in a haul yet. I really need to do a new haul video, but I have to find everything. Actually, I probably should do a couple of haul videos. Otherwise, it could be super long. Now, I'm going to run these through a couple of times just because I feel like this is thicker with the thin chipboard, so I want to make sure they cut properly, as I want a couple of sets. I may not end up using... Okay, why are you being a... Why aren't you feeding through right now? There we go. I don't know why that was being wiggy. Oh, because it was a bit uneven at the end. Okay, my fault. Okay, so we're gonna... Well, we have to pick that up in a minute. I need that. And we're just going to do it 4 times just to really make sure it's cut out through the thin chipboard of the book paper. The book paper I'm not worried about. It's more the actual... Just bear with me while I... yeah. Okay. Grab my blender. It's the only one I can find at the moment. And also because I need it in a bit. Okay. So let's see if this cut out nicely. I'm not sure if it would have because I think this was still a little damp. So let's see how these cut out. Oh, actually that cut out beautifully. Okay. So I'm just pulling out the excess bits and I'll show you what we got as they come out. I always think that if you know, with the circles and the weird shapes that come out like these, that you could probably do something with those when you're making different creatures like scrap monsters or other such things. Yeah, okay, these actually worked really well. We might only try cutting them twice next time because there's extra paper, so I deliberately made sure there was enough to do extras of these. So let's see how these more intricate ones cut out. Oh, beautifully, look at that. Okay, this might be the... Oh no, I was going to say this might be the exception to the rule, but so far they have all cut out gorgeously. And, you know, as I said, all these little pieces you could probably, you know, if you didn't want to throw them out, you could probably do something. I'm just literally popping the pieces out of the center so that it makes it easier when it comes to the next step. Now, just realised I didn't grab a flat surface for the next step. That's okay, I've got a canvas near me that'll work. So I'm literally just popping all these bits out. I was going to do this pre-prep, and I have done a lot of pre-prep for this particular video because just time. It's just going to take so much time if I hadn't prepped it. So I didn't want to do the die cuts because I wanted to show you how the die is cut and also just explain what I did with the book page. So I'm just popping the dies, what's this, down. As I said, I don't think I'll need all of these, but I always just think it's better to look, if I've got a whole book page here, I may as well utilize what I have and cut out at least most of it. I'm probably not going to worry about that last little spot, but you know, that's a good, you know, 2 lots, and you could use a small die there or a word die. I don't know why I just picked up my scoreboard. Because I'm having a moment. I don't know. I really don't. I am apologising for the fact that it's been 3 days of Spooktober without a video. I have this and some other videos will be making up for it. Oh, actually, I don't know what videos are going to come out in what order, but yes. So let's just try running it through twice, just to see if we get that nice crisp cut again, because I always find it really interesting to see. And yep, okay, so I only ran that through twice and everything is coming out fine. So the 4 was overkill, basically. What you do when you do your gel medium, let it dry really well before you cut out with it, just so that you get your nice crisp cuts. I'm really impressed with this die set. Look, that's with 2 run-throughs. So yeah, I've got all these little bits that I should grab a plastic bag to pop in. Okay, so then there's the big one, which I probably won't be using in this. It may just be a little too big. I may only want the smaller ones, but these have cut out beautifully. I'm really impressed with that because there's a layer of thin chipboard and a layer of book paper as well as gel medium, so I think they've cut out rather well considering. This bottom one is just a little bit, and it may just be more me and where it was in the die cutting machine, but actually no, it came out fine. It just took a little bit more work than last time, and that's okay because we cut it less. So let's see if I can get this middle bit. Okay, I might not be able to get everything out easily, but that's okay. We'll probably not need to worry too much about that. Yeah, the bottom ones, I can feel the gel medium wasn't quite completely dry, so I think that would be more likely the issue than the dyes. But it is, for the most part, they are coming out really, really well. So that's all the die cutting we need to do for this. Depending on what Cogs and Gear dies you have and what you'd like. If you watch Game of Thrones, you know that in the intro they use a lot of sort of... It's sort of like... What would I call it? I'm trying to think of the term I would use for the version of... It's sort of like mythical steampunk. There you go. That is how I would probably say that Game of Thrones does their... Just trying to get these little bits out of the way. Okay, so we've done our die cutting, so the dies can go away. That's just our little pile. We've got some double-sided tape. We have an assortment of Game of Thrones book pages. We have a small flap, which is 1 by just shy of 2 inches, which is what our bookmark is. If you can see here, we are just 1 shy of 2 inches there. So basically all you do to create your flap is, okay, so I'm just doing, that is the 1 shy bit, and then we're going to cut it into 1. So we're just getting rid of that excess, and then we're just doing it as a half. Ooh. I just realized this wasn't pushed in properly, but that's okay, because we're not using this one. And then what you've got is your little flap, and all I've done is covered that in double-sided tape and covered it in book paper. I used the Nutri-Grain side because that way when you flip it up you're not going to see it. If you want to cover the inside piece, you can, and actually we might do that because this is a, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. It is a, oh yeah, that will work. Okay, so I'll just tear that bit. It is a flip piece. So what I'm going to do is, that's the piece that flips up. I'm not going to put both sides because you're not going to see one side. One side is going to be sandwiched in between our bookmark. Now you can do this as a 1-layer bookmark. The reason I'm doing 2 layers is because of the Nutri-Grain. I mean, actually I might not. I might actually do it a little bit more like I normally would because it's a little bit of waste of resources, and you can get 2 bookmarks out of 1 side of a cereal box, and that's a small cereal box, not even a big cereal box. So what I'm going to do is just grab just whatever words. I'm going to trim around this. I have scissors. So what happens when I'm crafting, I get in such a mess. Even when I set myself up to do something like for a video, I still lose everything. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just trim this to that, and that's just the inside, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, that's just so that if it flips up, if someone flips up and looks, there's something there as a buffer. Now what I'm going to do is I have this piece which I did do all in cardstock, and I'm going to cut it in half because we do not need all of that. And then you can have 2 bookmarks out of the 1 page. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I've pulled one of the maps out of the Game of Thrones book. If you saw my op shop or thrift haul, my last one, you would have seen I found a Dance with Dragons crazy cheap, and this is the Game of Thrones book I am now using as my book pages for when I want something nerdy. So what I'm going to do is line this up so I can kind of see through the back. So I wanted to keep that edge, just not too much, just enough to keep the swords in. And just the nice edge. Ooh, I see what I've done there. Oops. Just very gentle. Ooh, okay. We're just going to take it how it is now. It'll be okay. It just looks old now. Old and worn, which is what we kind of want. So I'm not going to stress about that little tear. I'm not, because things go wrong in crafting all the time, and that is okay. I don't have any words or images that I'm going to stick on these, so all I'm going to be doing is adding a little distress ink. Now we're going to leave covering the other side of this until the very end, and there is a reason for that, because we want our flap excuse me to blend in, so we'll do a little. Okay, so we've got this happening. We did get our little tear, but that's okay. So we'll pop all this to one side now. The good thing about this is you could literally get 2 and a bit, or like a really skinny bookmark out of one of these matte pages. So when you look at it that way, I paid $1 for this book, maybe 2. So yeah, anyway, I'm rambling too much and we have much to do, and this was supposed to be a short tutorial. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a flat surface, flat canvasy surface. I am going to grab a book page because you can then recycle this. What we're going to do is we're going to ink up all our pieces. So I've got my blending foam. I have my distress minis. I still need the new set, what is it, the 14, 15 and 6, 13, 14 and 15 or something? I don't know. I have the first 4 sets. I need another container and the Yep, okay, so I've just re-inked my tea dye. As you can see, I do what Tim suggests and put my foams on the base. So that did not go on very well. And that does not look like my tea dye, but okay. Did I? Yep, I see what's happened. I've got my aged mahogany and my tea dye confused. I can see because the aged mahogany has been used on the vintage photo. But it looks like aged mahogany. Okay, so I've just re-inked this one because it was really empty. So I'm just going to go very gently on this, and then I'm going to start just really inking over this whole map because we want it to look, see how that's given it a nice, worn, aged look. And I'm not worrying about hitting absolutely everything on it. So that gives that nice, worn, aged look. Very simply, I love distress for this reason. If you do not have distress inks, you could easily do any other ink you have, or a little bit of even just tea dye your paper a little bit first. Just be gentle. Whatever you do, just be gentle. You don't want to overdo it to start with because we're building up layers of age. Another thing that I really love, if you don't have inks, is if you have pencil dust. Do you remember as a kid, when you sharpen pencils, you'd sometimes use the pencil dust as shading? You could easily do that. That would be a really cool way to do it as well. Just if you don't have things, you know, but then if you're not a crafter, you're probably not going to have things like the Cogs and Gears Dies. So, you know, I'm just giving you options. Another thing I absolutely swear by for aging, and it's super cheap, is grab yourself some charcoal pencils or some charcoal sticks and create some charcoal dust. It gives you a really nice it really gives you a nice grit. See, this isn't taking very long. I'm just sitting here chatting away to you as I gently rub this over. I'm not, as I said, I'm not being precious. I'm not worrying about every bit getting hit, because we're going to build up some layers of distress and such. I'm actually, this, and the book paper is great for this because it will let you build up layers. Now, if you want to, at the end of this, and I will probably do it off camera, is add some matte gel medium or glossy gel medium, depending on what you like, just to protect it. Now, your ink is going to move a little when you do that, and I will show you on a piece of leftover when we get there. So look how quick this is. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do this in, we're going to do the same pile in reverse. So that was tea dye. Then we're going to take this blending foam off, put it back in my container. So I usually do tea dye, vintage photo, and I think I will probably do a little aged mahogany just for a little bit something different, or I may do some walnut stain, but I usually do 3 layers. So now this one isn't as inked as the other one, so we're just going to grab some onto our, and we're just going to, you don't want as much of this because this will, so basically what we're doing is we're aging these up to look like old book pages, to look like something Sam would have read in the Citadel, basically. And we just keep doing this until we're happy with it, and then we add a little bit more. Like I don't want it all too dark, too light. It's just, you want a good mix of, so that's why I'm sort of really getting in there and sort of not worrying about it being too much. So we just re-ink this a little, and want to, so it's not about being perfect. Distress is really good if you're someone who's not confident as a crafter, who finds things a little hard. Distress is a really good place to start. God, I sound like a commercial, but I really do like the distress products because I am very vintagey, and aging things up is something I absolutely adore. So they work well for me with that. And I'm just like, as I said, I'm not being precious and perfect and making sure I hit every spot, because you want some of your tea dye to show through as well. And what I want to do here is kind of get more of the edging than anything else. So I'm kind of working it in to get the edges a bit more, and see how just gorgeous they start to look. Like that, you're not even seeing the full depth of color here. If I block that off, you might. If I pull it back, I'm not sure, but you really do get a nice aged look. It gives you something really cool to work with. Just be aware that distress is not waterproof. And what I'm going to do, I think, before I forget, is I'm going to do a piece of paper that is going to, oh, actually, if I keep moving this a little, this would be done enough for the back piece. So we'll move this over a bit, and we'll grab some more of this, and we'll just really nicely see how, and basically, so then we put this one away, and I think I will do a little aged mahogany just because it has a slight burgundy tone to it, which is really nice, and I think works well with the whole Game of Thrones theme. So again, I've just got it there. You just pop it there, and we go here, and see, it's got that sort of reddish tone to it, which is really nice. And what I really want to do with this one is just sort of bring it around the edges more than anything, just to give the edges that sort of finishedy look. And then I'm just going to gently move it across my bookmark just to give you that sort of really nice aged look. And then we're just going to keep going and do these things with each of our cogs and gears. They all are going to have different amounts of this, and that's okay. It's not about having one be more than the others. It's just about giving you some age. And what I may do is just actually add a little walnut stain just to bring the the brown back into it a bit more, because there is a real pinky burgundiness to the aged mahogany. And this is just, I really enjoy this. This is something, like, once you get the hang of, like, I'm sitting here talking to you guys, but if I wasn't focusing on sort of showing you what I'm doing or things like that, this would be done in a heartbeat. It really would not be done. It doesn't take a long time. Whoops, we kind of overdid that, but that's okay. There are no mistakes in crafting, especially with distress, because it'll all add to the overall look, and that is something really important to note, is that don't stress if you feel like you went too far, if you don't feel like you went far enough. Okay, so now I've got the walnut stain, and these all work beautifully well together. I need to stick that. Okay, but what I'm going to do, rather than rub it on this, I'm just going to go over my edges just to give a bit of a... And you see what I'm doing? I'm just like flicking it onto the edge. So that will bleed in a little and give it a much more aged look. So you just want a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is just take this, the little walnut on it, because you don't want a lot, and we just want to sort of bring those little edges and make sure we've got that little bit that's peeled up all nice, and see, you get this really nice, look at how aged and worn that looks. And that was a new book page not long ago, and that's the point. That is the absolute point of distress, is that you can have a blank piece of paper that really only 5 minutes ago looked brand new, and in 5 to 10 minutes you have this gorgeous aged patina. So we're just going to keep doing this. I am going to have to end up doing the back piece as well, but I may just use the bit that I've already... So I'm just adding a bit more, and what adding the walnut stain is doing is just, it takes the shine, a little bit of that over pinkiness of the aged mahogany. It just takes that away a little, I think, and I think it gives it just that, those four together really give you a nice kind of antique-y look. And we're almost done. Look, these are all our pieces done. As I said, I probably should have cut the piece of paper for the back so that we could do that as well, but I will do that bit last, or close to the end. Okay, so there we go, and we just take the blending foam off. Okay, and then we pop it there. I really love the Distress Minis. Like, I have a whole collection of Distress ink in the bigger sizes, and I'm thinking of selling it because I really don't use it anymore. Okay, so now we have this, and I forgot to distress a piece, and I can't find it. Okay, that's helpful. Where did I put... Okay, so one more thing that we forgot to distress is our... Because otherwise it's going to look very stark against what we've already done. So we're going to distress this bit as well. And what I think I'm going to do is just be a bit bratty and just do it very gently with that. And then I'll come in with the... What is great with the minis is their travel size, but I find I can just... I just find I reach for them more than I ever reached for my distress inks. I find that because they're so portable, and we're just going to also do this inside bit because we don't want it to look really stark when it gets lifted up to put over a book page. And I'm not going to worry about the aged mahogany on this just because I think it'll be okay without it. Like, I don't feel the need to stress too much about this because this is just our little piece that everything's going to hide behind. I just didn't want it to stand out too much. Okay, so pull this off, we put this back under, and we pop this back in the tin. And that's the other thing, is that I love that I can have my distress inks so organised. So I know that I have a tin full of browns and greys. Okay, so what else I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that I burnish this piece so that it's got a good amount of ability to flip up and down but doesn't stay too wide open. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I think I will take, let me see where it is. I was going to say I think I'll take some craft glue, but I can't find it. So we'll use some tape. But actually I do need glue because it will be easier. Okay. Every time I start a tutorial I think this is just going to be a super quick tutorial. And 30 minutes later we're still making a tutorial. Well, it's not quite. It's 25, but you know, I think quick videos that I can upload. So I don't know what day this will be. I'm not shooting anything in order, but I do know that there are some simple, hopefully under 10-minute tutorials that I can upload. So what you're going to do is you're going to buffer that in a way that means that you can, oh, wrong way around. It helps if I put that the right way around. We don't want the bottom of the map, we don't want to do our map upside down. So what I'm doing is just lining that up, but allowing the flippy bit to flip over. So that's our back bit. And then we're just going to, again, burnish this. And I'm just going to make sure that I've trimmed off any excess paper. And I'm just going to look beside me for a minute to find... I did put craft glue in here, I remember doing it. Hate that when you put something somewhere and you know it's beside you, but then you can't find it. Okay, located the craft glue. Now what we're going to do is... I don't know if I'm going to do this big one. I sort of look at it and I kind of like the look of it, but I'm not sure I want to do the big one. But I think we'll start with the big one and build out from it. This is such a cool bookmark, and if you want to, you can do this in that embossed foil technique. Unfortunately, I do not know. I've probably put a little bit too much glue on this, so we're just going to sit this out like that and make sure I can flip it up. So just moving it to the piece I like, and then I'm just going to grab some other cogs and gears. So I might do this one to fill in, I might do this to fill in a little space. Is that I really enjoy doing this, and I really love doing it as sort of a more industrial steampunk too. As I said, this is our bit that we're going to build up on. I find that in the Game of Thrones series, I really enjoy the fact that it is kind of steampunky, that the credits have that kind of steampunk vibe, and I really, really dig that. I am very much in love with that sort of steampunky vibe. If you wanted to, you could make sure you cover both sides of your cogs and gears. I didn't in this case, but you really, it is up to you. Like I sort of didn't, and I sort of looking at that now think, maybe I should have done that. I'm just literally working on what I like and just adding it. You can do anything you want. This is just me playing and kind of just trying to create. I'm keeping it sort of more in the circle than I normally do. I think we'll put that in the center there, and then that'll be it. I kind of, it depends on my mood. It depends on what I have. Like I have other Cogs and Gears Die, so it just depends on how they work. I think these ones look really good in a circular kind of way, so we're going to just do that. And as you can see, we have a fair few left. But that is the basic bookmark. And what you do is, I don't have a book here. Of course I don't have a book here. But let's just pretend this is actually your book. Your cogs and gears sit over here, and they sit over your page so you can keep your page. What I will be doing, the last thing I'll be doing is just flipping this over, and I will be doing the back, but I'm not going to do that because you already know. I'm just, instead of taking the map, I'm just going to take a book page, but what I am going to do is grab my map gloss gel, and I'm going to do this with my fingers, so for anyone who gets annoyed at people who finger paint, I'm sorry, but this is the way I find easiest. And what I'm going to do is just take a small amount and rub it over all of the... Now you could do this before you glue it together, that is also an option. I just didn't want to have to wait for it to dry. This is a matte gloss gel, so it will not dry, what's the word? It will not dry glossy. It'll dry clear. And see, that just gives you a nice finish to what you've done. Not only that, but it just protects it, and it also, if your book gets wet, you're going to have protected your book. That's why I would probably do each individual piece first, if I'm honest, because that will 100% protect your book, because this will set and it'll be, yeah. So what I'm going to do is do this now, and then that's it. Half an hour later, but you get the idea. This will be a present for a friend, I'm sure, someone who loves Game of Thrones. This is a really good gift to chuck in a card, like 100%. See, the Distress ink, because of the book paper, isn't reacting as much as it normally would, but it just brings out that little bit of distressing. And what I'm going to do is, just to protect the bottom, like just to protect the bottom of this as well, I'm just going to do underneath. I not always would normally do this, but I just figured, seeing as I'm protecting everything else, it seems a bit of a shame not to protect the rest of the bookmark. Okay. And then I'm just going to do this side gently, and that's it. And all you do for the other side is, with your book paper, do exactly the same as you did for this. And you can see where I didn't put tape, so now I know not to do that again because it's come up striped. But there's your Game of Thrones bookmark, straight from Game of Thrones book pages. I love this technique. I think it is a great way to age up things. I know this took me a little bit longer than I expected, but you know what? I do think the end result is very worth it when it comes to this sort of thing. I really love that. It's very aged, it's very antiqued. It almost looks piratey worn, like it's just... And imagine reading your Game of Thrones book with this hanging over the edge. Pretty cool, huh? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. You could use any book for this. It doesn't have to be a Game of Thrones book. You could use a Harry Potter. You could use Aragon. You could basically use any book that has really nice maps in it, or just any book paper that you like or have to hand that you're crafting with. Yeah, so as always, like, comment and subscribe. Remember that you are amazing, you are incredible, but most importantly of all, you truly do matter. Bye, my angels and devils.